Revelation 1943. From the 7th of June 1941. Way of the flesh. Knowing it beforehand. Serve. The path of the flesh must be taken by every being which wants to become free from bondage. Until the being has completed its earthly life in the embodiment as a human being, it cannot enter the spiritual kingdom free and unbound. But the spiritual being will also strive for embodiment as a human being in order to finally become free from the constraint which every external form signifies for the spiritual being. And therefore it takes up the earthly struggle with full consent. It feels equal to the task and is not afraid of it. And therefore the souls will push themselves to be conceived into the flesh to be able to fulfill their last task. The earthly path has previously been shown to them, and also the degree of maturity they can attain through this earthly life. Furthermore, they will also be shown the degree of grace which will enable them to mature, and therefore the soul will not hesitate to take the final path, even though it will now be deprived of its awareness of the soul's preliminary development and will begin its earthly existence in complete ignorance. The more willing the soul was to serve before, the more it will now be able to cope with earthly demands. That is, it will also master earthly life, since it has declared its willingness to redeem itself through service. Admittedly, the human being will now enter situations in life where the will to serve will be shaken in him. He will get to know life with all its pleasures and comforts, and now the soul has to prove to itself whether it is still willing to serve. For it must go through resistances and prove itself in the face of these resistances. Thus it now puts the previously cherished will into action, and only this earns it liberation. The will to serve earned it the grace of embodiment as a human being, but the active will lets it become free again from the last form. However, if the will is not active, then it has, as it were, illegally acquired the embodiment as a human being. It has not fulfilled what it promised to do. And it is itself the sufferer, for the hour of liberation from spiritual fetters has by no means struck for it, even though through the death of the body it apparently becomes free from its outer form. It nevertheless takes the form with it into eternity, that is, it still feels the fetters of the spirit just as agonizingly as it felt the earthly body before. And it has to feel the shackles until it decides to serve with love. No being can be spared the path on earth in the flesh, however, it cannot be spared the service in love either, and if it does not do the latter on earth, it only prolongs its fettered state and, in fact, the time on earth. For the immature soul will not be able to separate itself from earth until it has fulfilled its service activity, even though it has already left earth. But their will to serve will often only be very weak in the beyond. And it will require double strength to bring this will to fruition. And therefore it is far more difficult to finally become free as on earth, where the slightest will brings the strength from God into the human being and he can effortlessly fulfill his earthly task. To serve with love in order to become completely free from the form. Amen.